Yeah, it's 3 o'clock here in Hong Kong, so we could start now.
Yes.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahmanir Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in Ihdinas siratal mustaqim Siratal ladzina an'amta alayhim ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Ameen. So, brothers and sisters, once again, welcome to our triple IT webinars. And I'm Tahir Nadeem, a teacher at Islamic College in Hong Kong. And it's really my honor to host today's webinar. And together with us is Ustaz Mamoon, a very, very experienced mentor and trainer. So I would hand over the setting to Ustaz Mamoon to introduce Brother Abdul Bari and a bit about today's topic, rise, fall, and growth of Islam and historical perspective. So Ustaz Mamoon, please.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalam ala rasulillah. Brothers and sisters, this is a very important topic, and a person who has been a long-time friend of mine and has been, mashallah, he has played a big role in the Muslim community in UK, and he was he's not just author, but he was also leader in Muslim Council of Britain, which has 500 Muslim organizations as affiliates, and it is kind of promoting Muslim communities' interest, and also host, shall we say, the society's interest at large. He's well known here. He was also chairman of East London Mosque, which is possibly the biggest establishment in Europe. And alhamdulillah, he has very much an interest, and he has been a parenting expert. And this topic is very close to my heart and his heart. And we will learn something about how Islam rose during Prophet's time and subsequently fall, and he also explains factors that that supported that, and how Islam has grown, particularly since the fall of the last Muslim empire, the Ottoman Empire. So he has summarized, but he will explain more detail. The slides are only 18, but the contents are much more rich, and inshallah, it will be really an eye-opening for us all, inshallah, and we will circulate the recording through the Telegram group, inshallah. Brother Nadeem will do that. So over to you, Brother Dr. Muhammad Abdul Bari.
Jazakumullah khair, Brother Mamoon and Nadeem. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Alhamdulillahi kafa wa salamun ala ibadihi allazina istafa. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah. Jazakumullah khair for inviting me for this talk. Thanks, Brother Mamoon, Brother Nadeem and others. As Brother Mamoon has mentioned, I have been involved as an activist, basically. I'm essentially, I'm a physicist, but I became a teacher. I became a specialist teacher to deal with children with behavior difficulty. And since then, I got heavily involved in the communities, especially young people's life. Few books, as Brother Mamoon mentioned. One of them is Race, Religion, and Muslim Identity in Britain. Identity has been a big issue, is still a big issue. So it's just going through the life in British society. But before I start my presentation, Brother Mamoon taught me the way of how to run this. One is first conversation. then some presentation, and then discussion. I'm not saying question and answer, it should be discussion. So how do we converse? Brother Mamun, help us. Or is anybody going to ask or discuss anything?
I would suggest that those of us who are here, we can share what we know about it, what we think about it,
Yeah.
particularly in relation to the factors that contributed to the fall of Islamic power and the movements that have arisen, particularly three you have mentioned. One is by Sheikh Hassan al-Banna in Egypt, another by Sheikh Abul Ala Maududi in the subcontinent, and the third by Sheikh Nursi in Turkey. And all three suffered jail sentences and various other oppressions by Muslim rulers. So I think it would be good for everyone to share what they understand and what they know and what they think and how the growth of Islam can be growth of Islam in numbers, growth of Islam in activities,
Qualities,
but in power, it is a far cry, because particularly Sunni world is very much fragmented. And I hope everyone will share how do we regain. And I've seen the presentation, the core issues have been mentioned in terms of how do we get out of this mess. So I would suggest that Brother Bari, you can open the floor, let everyone share.
Okay.
Certainly, it would be a rich discussion, inshallah, before presentation and after. How Islam rose, it's known. How and why it fell, it's not so well known. And the growth is somewhat known. But how do we get out of this mess is particularly not many people are thinking. But certainly a lot of people are thinking in terms of the those who are used to global issues and interests and power structure and how manipulation takes place, how propaganda takes place, how kind of oppressor becomes victim by propaganda and therefore justify the oppressions. All these things, please, I would say, please, everyone, share your thoughts on the topic before we hear a quite powerful presentation, inshallah. So
there are some always who are passionate in talking. Alhamdulillah, I think some of them will talk. Others may not be that willing to talk. So let's see. Let's hear from one or two at least.
So there is Brother Ahmed Rahil. Would you like to share some thoughts? And there is name Juzer Kikaboy. Please share your thoughts. I guess today,
okay,
you can make a start.
That's fine. That's fine, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It's a long topic, big topic, 1400 years of story. And Prophet Sallallahu Sirah, if there have been volumes of books on this, even Sahaba life and Islamic history, and before Ottomans, there were Mongols, Crusaders, and Muslims more or less defeated them in a different way. And then colonization of, so it's a so big story. I will just highlight some snippets that I understand, because I was born in Bangladesh like Brother Mamun, but all my life I have spent in the UK, and I was not only Muslim activist, I worked with the establishment in various ways and challenged the establishment during the Iraq invasion. I was part of the Olympic board, so people are Muslims, non-Muslims are more or less known to me, close to me. And to me, Britain has been a colonizing power. So there are nostalgia about Britain, positively, negatively, from many people. And in my observation, even after 9/11, 7/7, situation was not as worse globally that we see today. And to me, 2012 London Olympic was the best period of London, summer 2012, because when the political establishment, media, society, civil society, churches, and all establishments converge to make a project successful, then I have seen how Britain worked positively. Muslims, non-Muslim, this, that, everybody was so friendly in 2012. I don't know whether anybody has got any experience of 2012 or any Olympic. I was part of the Olympic board. So I relish that period. And we used to travel midnight, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock at night in London. Everybody was friendly. Suddenly, 2013, a soldier was killed by 2 Muslims, Nigerian born. And ISIS came in the middle from nowhere. There are stories of that. I have got my own analysis. And in England, there's another issue came, Trojan horse, that Muslims were taking over British education system. All fake, in my opinion. But these were used to beat Muslims. And Muslims are now weak. Establishment is right-wing or far-right, whether Labour or Conservative. So that's an internal British phenomenon. And across Europe, across the West, situation is not that different. Okay, so snippets of history. Islam has been a gift to humanity. Anybody who knows the history, Muslims or non-Muslims, and know Prophet Prophet's life and the way Islam spread across the world within a few decades. There are some wars, but at the end of the day, war didn't win heart and minds of the people. It was people's character, behavior, wherever Muslims went in the first few generations, that created civilizations. People changed their language, changed their religion. They became part of Islamic Ummah voluntarily. And whereas we see when colonization spread, sword and everything's conquered everything, people. Aborigines, Red Indians, Maoris, ethnic cleansing or genocide was done. And Christian missionaries wanted to spread Christianity. But even then, they did not succeed. What Muslims did within a few decades, Western or European colonizers could not do in centuries. But what they did created mess. Okay, so that's I'm just in brief, I just summarize some of the things. So Islam, why is it gift? Because Islam's core beliefs, the reason I'm saying this, many people are becoming Muslim, alhamdulillah, and very talented people. Some of them I know. And they find from the Christianity and from the other backgrounds. And they see Islam is straightforward, plain, simple. We know that it is. Whereas for simple people, it is very simple. But for educated, highly qualified people, there are lots of tasks and burden on them. So it's a 6 core beliefs, 5 pillars, and ilm, knowledge-based middle way life. I have said many things in one sentence. Core beliefs, 5 pillars, but at the end of the day, ilm-based, knowledge-based middle way life. I've got a memoir. I named it A Long Jihad, My Quest for the Middle Way. But keeping a good balance in personal, piety, and ihsan. Ihsan is excellence as well as godliness. Family and neighbors, society and ummah, the diverse things. Plus individual and collective jihad, because jihad is a struggle, is a constant struggle. Okay, Islam guides believers' manners, morality, spirituality, as well as collective conduct of social, economic, and political ethics and justice. I'm sure those who are here, many of them are familiar, and probably some of you may be more scholarly than me. But manners, morality, spirituality, not just ritual ibadat. Ritual ibadat is just between one servant of Allah and between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself, as well as not only also personal manners, but collective conduct of social, economic, and political ethics and justice. So that is the essence of Islam. Somehow from many Muslims, this is lost. Arabs, including Sahaba, were masters of sword. That was their job. That was their business. That was, as Arab, they had to fight in their own time. So yes, Muslim Sahaba had to fight sword with sword, but they were knowledge seekers. And especially the following two generations, that Prophet Sahaba generation, tabi, knowledge spread. Islam was kept intact. Scholars differed, but at the end of the day, they came to the conclusion for Madhab and the Shiaism. These are historical reality. But the way Islam was preserved, Quran was preserved. That's uniqueness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he had also mentioned Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran. And the knowledge doesn't mean simply Islamic knowledge. That is the case. That's the discussion I will have, inshallah. This has to be secular knowledge. When I say secular, nothing is secular. It's everything is God-given. But the modern world has defined it as secular knowledge or material knowledge, as well as contemporary knowledge. Not only historical, secular, or material knowledge. What is happening around socially, politically, ideologically. If Muslims don't know this, then the wave that has been tsunami of things that are coming, we cannot withstand this. So intellectual leadership with pen power, as well as social and life skills, are vital. So that is my more or less preamble. Intellectual leadership with pen power. Pen doesn't necessarily mean writing now. So we write through computers, but it's writing powers. But writing comes with thought, as well as social skill and life skills. These are fundamentally important. Okay, factors behind Muslim rise. So this is very briefly, and I'll not take that long in here. Vision and integrity, perfect personal character, charismatic leadership, conviction, effective communication skills. I'm mentioning some of the qualities of our beloved Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And his qualities were modeled by his close companions. The reason I'm saying close companions probably at the end of his time, probably few thousands. But those who are converted in Makkah and early Medina before Fateh Makkah, they were the core companions. And each of them was unique in his or her own way. But one thing was common, I mentioned in the previous slide, that they were the master of swords. That means they knew the game of the time. Then Quran, Sunnah with doctrinal appeal. Islam is very simple. Trinity people cannot explain. I have heard people talking. I have seen people talking. Trinity is confusing. But Islam is pure, simple, pristine monotheism. It has kept it. Judaism has lost it. Christianity has lost it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran, Surah Maryam, towards the end, the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addressed, وَقَالُوا اتَّخَذَ الرَّحْمَنُ وَلَدًا. How could you think that Allah has a son? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala castigates the people. Even then, Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, through Allah's guidance, consider Jewish people and Christianity as our brothers and sisters in Abrahamic faith. Ahlul Kitab. So in spite of theological differences, we are brothers and sisters of three Abrahamic faiths. And Muslims always did justice to not only Muslims, but other faiths, at least these three faiths, and of course all faiths. So that was the factors behind Muslim rise. And third point is military prowess, military excellence and success. That was inevitable at that time. And in all ages, military pragmatism, military qualities are required at all ages. And unfortunately, human beings would be fighting until the day of judgment. and deepest love of companions for the Prophet ﷺ, and dedication and sacrifice of early Muslims. When I say early Muslims, it's not only this generation, but following generations. Probably hundreds of thousands of Muslim polymaths were raised by their moms and dads, until suddenly all virtually stopped. And also political success of a unified entity. I know Khilafah Rashida, then there was some fight, but even then there was a political unified entity. Whether we Umayyads, we may criticize, Abbasids, we may criticize, Ottomans, nobody was perfect. No kingship was perfect, but there was unity of purpose under the Rashidun, post-Rashidun rulers, even with their flaws, that provided stability and facilitated Islam's further expansion. Compare that situation in the very challenging, painful situation of Sahaba fighting. Even then, compare that situation to present-day Muslim rulership. How they kill their own people and become slave of the foreign masters. Sorry for using this language. Factors behind Muslim rise. Second slide on this, Islam's importance and focus of knowledge, piety and akhlaq, unity in diversity and spirituality. This may be, some of them may be repetition. And positive asabiya. I have to mention one or two sentences here. Asabiya is the group solidarity. Ibn Khaldun, in his Muqaddimah, famous Muqaddimah, he is considered as the first modern sociologist or historical sociologist of the world. Group solidarity, that means people clinging together for a purpose and live and die for that. Before Islam, it was tribe. Islam brought them together. But even then, within Islam, Islam accommodated this tribe in the positive sense. Under Prophet ﷺ, there were Aus and Khazraj and the Quraysh, and they fought. They lived. Of course, Munafiquns wanted to destroy their unity, but each tribe were fighting how many shuhada they can produce. That was the sign of their pride. Pride means humble pride. That my tribe has produced this number of shuhada. That was the level of the discussion. So asabiya, if it becomes purely nationalistic, the way it is now, the way Second World War happened, German superiority, Aryan race, if it is nationalism, worldly gain, then asabiya can be a different sword. It can destroy things. But positive asabiya has been unique in Islam's spread and Islam's staying as a civilization. Early Muslim rulers, compared to current day, there were awkward people, Hajjaj bin Yusuf and others, in history, some of them were ruthless. But even then, for the interest of Islam and Muslims, they did so many things. So they were basically better, they had better honesty and better administrative efficiency that allowed for effective governance and management of countries under Islam. And then tolerance and inclusivity all were together. Even the Ottoman, I will not discuss much, but Ottoman, some Jewish historians like Ilan Pape and others, they give the alternative formula that Israel is doing a genocide. What could bring people together, Muslims, Jews, and everything? And Ilan Pape mentions about the Ottoman rule across the world, ruling people of diversity and helping each other. When Jews were in crisis in Spain, and Sultan of Ottoman Empire, he allowed Jews to come into his empire and settle them as brothers and sisters in humanity. So for the integration of diverse cultures and peoples into growing Muslim communities, West shows some symptom after Second World War, after the massacre of Second World War. They have invited many people from across the world, including Muslims of diverse communities. And this diversity has been enshrined in some of the Western judiciary and political system. Unfortunately, this is now withering, unfortunately. Okay, now factors behind Muslim fall. As Khilafah turned into kingship, Islam's spirit weakened amongst rulers. First, it started with the rulers. Muslim scholars were still, in the first few generations, wonderful. They challenged the rulers, they suffered, they sacrificed, but it started with the rulers first. However, pursuit of knowledge continued for a long time and created a rich civilization. Although spirit weakened within the rulers, knowledge and ulama and the overall community kept this civilization alive for nearly 1,000 years. Then internal division and conflict gradually widened. Quest for knowledge and ijtihad declined. Especially historians say when Baghdad was decimated, scholars were massacred, hundreds of thousands, killed by Hulagu Khan's army. And the books were either burnt or thrown into Euphrates and Tigris. And historians say that for a few days, Euphrates rivers, that conjunction river was blackish red, people's blood and black ink of the paper for a few days. So I think the main the decline started earlier, otherwise they would not have been defeated by the Mongols. But that was the sort of seal. And from then onward, Muslims could not survive because Salahuddin came before that. Externally, Crusaders and Mongols brought havoc, we know that. Muslims, after massive sufferings in both of them, Jerusalem was under Christian rule for 88 years. And they slaughtered everyone in the First Crusade. Everyone, Muslims and Jews. They did not allow them to flee even. But inner flaws continued in political, economic, and intellectual, both religious and secular. I always mention religious and secular, life that paved in colonialism. That was the main. So Muslims defeated Mongols, and Mongols became Muslims. You know, Hulagu Khan's own grandchildren became Muslims. And Salahuddin Ayyubi before that defeated Europeans, but Muslims fell into sleep, and Christian Europe, I would say Christian, but it is Catholic, and Catholic Christianity was having bloodbath everywhere. And from within them, the secular Christians, they initiated European Renaissance for material knowledge. So colonialism, when they became educated, they wanted to discover or explore the world, and they went different places where there were weaker people. They colonized and settled there, and where people are still a bit stronger, like India, they colonized us. Bengal was colonized for 190 years, India for 90 years, and Malaysia and Indonesia, but it was a fair game at that time. So decline in intellectual and scientific progress, that means the golden age ended. There was a golden age. Just a few months ago, I was in Samarkand, Bukhara, and Tashkent. And Central Asia was the heart of Islamic civilization. And the situation there not totally dissimilar from us, but probably slightly better than some Muslim countries. Because Muslims ended up with the loss of innovation and enterprise. Okay, factors behind Muslim fall. Slide 2, discovery of new trade routes. So that was internal Muslim passivity and decline, but externally what happened, things became more precarious. New trade routes by Europe, arrival of maritime trade networks, weakened Muslim economic power. So whatever power Muslim had, that was no match against the Europeans. Mughal Empire became weak. Ottoman Empire gradually a bit slower, but at the end of the day it became weak. Internal disorder, social upheaval, and breakdown of traditional political structures further weakened Muslims. You know, I know more about South Asia. So Bengal Sultanate became a Sultanate, but it was separated from Mughal Empire. So when East India Company came, it fell into the trap, became colonized, because the concept of unity, staying together as far, which America and the West is now holding power in the world because they are doing this, that was lost from the Muslims. European powers exploited Muslim situation and directly colonized many Muslim lands with devastating psychological and intellectual consequences, not only physical, but psychological, intellectual. Muslim minds, many Muslim minds, sadly sad to say, are still colonized, simply colonized, consider West as superior. They think themselves as inferior because that seed was sown, and Muslim rulers, after getting independence in the mid 20th century, they did very little. They did not only very little, they worsened the situation. Education system is still remaining Macaulay education system in Pakistan, Bangladesh, India. Economy and everything is a corruption, ineptitude, and what should I say, prevailed after colonizers left. So physically left, but intellectually they are, it's the age of post-colonization. Lack of technological progress, particularly in fundamental research and military technology, left Muslim countries at a loss. It's a different discussion, but very briefly, China and Iran learned from the West, but they educated their own people for fundamental research, this and that. China is one of the countries that doing scientifically very well, and Iran is another country. But I'll come to the discussion probably a bit later. Immensely weak post-colonial, political, intellectual, and religious leadership. Political, intellectual, and religious. Why religious? Because religion, the previous, our ulama and scholars, the polymaths, they were master of knowledge in their own subjects. They also knew what was happening around them. Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahumullah, he was a tradesman, he was a businessman. He knew how business worked. That's why his fiqh on business is more powerful than even for than many scholars that came after him. So our ulama had contemporary knowledge, worldly knowledge. Even Maulana Muhammad rahmatullah that Mamun Bhai has mentioned. And he was not only a theological scholar, although he didn't have any formal South Asian degree, but he was also very knowledgeable as to what was happening in the West. So religious leadership, political leadership, intellectual leadership, that declined very sharply and created havoc. Okay, revival attempts. Mamun Bhai remind me if I go too far in time. Now, what happens after colonization? Nationalist movements, because Europe created a nationalism is their invention. Nationalism, fascism, communism, capitalism, all these isms have been Europe's invention. And nationalism, apparently it looks fine, but that nationalism created Second World War. Everybody knows that. So Muslims, when they were colonized, and normally there's a beautiful hadith, Prophet ﷺ says that upper hand is better than the lower hand. Upper hand is someone gives, lower hand is someone takes. We only use this in the financial sector, that the donor is better than the beggar. No. Intellectually, Muslims were superior. Europe came to Muslim countries, learned Arabic, learned knowledge, and they created their own renaissance. Now, Europe is superior materially, material knowledge. We come to the West, we are learning from them. So, from this context of this hadith is we are inferior to them in terms of this respect. That doesn't mean that we should remain inferior. Okay, so what happened? These nationalist movements, pan-Islamic unity that came in South Asia, revival of religious education, Deobandi group, cultural and intellectual works started nicely, alhamdulillah. Especially South Asia, Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, I know the history. Muslims, for the first time, they were just regrouping. They could not defeat colonialism. but they were regrouping themselves. But once they got independence and the leadership went into the hands of the Brown Sahib, I call them Brown Sahib, or there's a bad word about that, coconuts. And that means internally they are white, externally they are brown. It's a pejorative term, I don't use this. But because our ruling class after independence in most Muslim countries were in the hands of secular, westernized leaders. And they didn't have any agenda to revive Islam and Muslim glory. There were probably a few exceptions, but that is exception. On the other hand, Islamic revival movements, I mentioned Brotherhood, Jamaat, and Nur Jamaat. There are other groups in various ways. In Turkestan, in Sudan, in different places. But these three are known because they're relevant. Ikhwan is still very known, although it is now virtually decimated by the power. And Jamaat, Bangladesh suffered. And India is a non-political organization. In Pakistan, it gets 1 or 2 seats. Pakistan Jamaat leader resigned because he got only few seats. And but he has everybody requested to come back. But what I'm saying that these revivalist movements, I don't think politics and social work mixed up, but that's a totally different discussion. What we see is not the result that they wanted to produce. That's what I can see, because this world is result oriented. It's not just effort oriented. Akhira is effort oriented. The world is result oriented. Okay, post-colonial political intellectual leadership ended up with secular Muslims, and in most cases, westernized brown Sahib, I mentioned this already, and religious mention was very weak, has been very weak. Why? Because many of them did not have the deeper knowledge, or someone who had the deeper knowledge, text, they didn't have the context of the society. So they were decontextualized from the modern knowledge. So our secular scholars or academics, very few have deeper knowledge of Islam, and our scholars who knows religious text, theology, etc., very few of them have that worldly knowledge, contemporary knowledge. As Maulana Maududi and in the history there are many, not many, they are most prevalent. Lessons 2 means page 2. Still, because I'm probably talking too negative thing, but I always consider myself as someone who thinks glass is half full. Glass is half empty, glass is half full. So we should not be fatalist. So what I can see, Islam remains still a significant global religious and cultural force. This sentence I'm openly saying, I just asked, the chat GPT, and quite with a few things. I sometimes consult, sometimes, but I like this one because it gives some positive vibe in whatever we have. In spite of everything happening, Islam is spreading. Young women are coming to Islam. Model girls are coming to Islam, and after coming, they cry in front of the TV, how they found life, dignity in their life. Because model girls were treated as sex objects. And many highly talented people are accepting Islam, especially up in the 4 months of Gaza genocide. So what we need to do is bringing meaningful cooperation, because there is virtually less cooperation amongst Muslims. Factionalism has become embedded, but we cannot unite people. I always said, let us not try to unify. Let's try to coordinate and cooperate. Then unity will come through unity of hearts, and gradually that will be natural. If we talk about unity, I have seen this even in Britain. Organization came to unify other organization, that became another organization. So let's work for cooperation, coordination, and unity will naturally come by nature. And also adaptability and innovation in various fields: education, governance, economics, technology. huge academic work for this. So this academic work has to be linked up with the realities of our society and community. We cannot just theoretical academy is not going to help. Tolerance and inclusivity to foster coordination, cooperation, stability, and prosperity. Stability is most important. A society that is unstable always suffers. A society based on injustice will never prosper. Muslim theologians and scholars always say, and it's through the Quran and Sunnah, that insaf or justice under a non-Muslim ruler is far better than insaf or oppression under a Muslim ruler. And that is a sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah wants to run this world as long as this world continues in a better way. This is a garden for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If the managers of the garden make a mess in the garden and they only praise Allah, then Allah doesn't need that sort of God. We need to be steward, supervisor, manager, or ambassadors of Allah on earth. That concept has to be rebuilt, and our imams and scholars, community leaders should infuse this idea into the people's mind. Creating strong, honest, visionary servant leadership to face challenges and create realistic optimism for growth. Servant leadership, shepherd leadership, these are the concepts that have been more or less contemporary concept. Mahmud Bhai's eldest son, Pastor Rahimahullah, Nabil Azam, I worked with him. He was like my nephew. We worked on this concept for many years. Sadly, he passed away, and this servant leadership. And also, there's a hadith that Sayyidul Qawmi Khadimuhum. I don't know whether it's a Sahih hadith, but this is a very important thing, that leaders of the community or ummah is the one who serves the people. And shepherd leadership is obviously all prophets were shepherds at that time, because shepherds means how to look after your cattle. And you are in the front, you are in the middle, you are in the left, in the right, in the back. Leaders should be everywhere, not interfering, but leading. So we need this sort of leader to face challenges and creating realistic optimism. We cannot simply say that, okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us victory. Yes, Allah will give us victory. But we have to be realistic. What's our current situation? And we have to plan for that. And so realism is important. And there is a philosophical word, some Jewish academics, wonderful academics. They are for politics of realism. They analyze, criticize America, although they are American citizens, because what America is doing is not helping itself. But that's another discussion and bigger case. Creating economic resilience through diversification, sound fiscal policies, and investment in human capital. Look at Arab world, look at Pakistan, Bangladesh, or other world. I don't know that much about the Southeast Asian countries, a little bit, but billionaires have come up where ordinary people, they struggle to survive. In the Western world, billionaires are running the corporations. Sometimes government are just hostage to these billionaires. And one Bangladeshi billionaire, he has got 260 houses in London. That's the recent news. 260, and some of them are in the Knightsbridge areas. Each of them will cost 10, 15 million. One of them. How did he earn money? He was nothing. So this black money and the oil money, they are being used by certain small number of people, and that is not coming to the people. As a result, education and dignity is collapsing. Arab world, even other non-Arab world, we should not simply blame Arabs. Okay, remaining constantly vigilant, that's another important thing, against external threats, whether military, economic, or ideological, or political. And that's what Muslims don't see that. How Western countries are ruling them many ordinary people do not understand, and their leaders are their servants. So they will not. They are the more or less paid servants virtually. Effort on education, knowledge, and intellectual upsurge to empower individuals for contributing to societal progress. The reason I am somewhat critical about the Islamic movements or Islamic organizations overall, they have created their own small shell, bubble, and living within their small world. Their social interaction, organizational interaction, their 24/7 goes only, 24/7 time goes only with internal organizational or a small group of people. Secular Muslims or nationalist Muslims or neighbors, very less confidence and very less interaction. Mamun Bhai will understand what I'm meaning in British context. Understanding and adaptive to changing global dynamics, including trade, technological progress, and geopolitical realities. How many think tanks do we have in the whole Muslim world? In Britain, there are more than 120 think tanks. Some of them, I know them because personally they attack us. Every now and then come up with any and every fault of the Muslim. Muslims are faulty, Muslims are anti-Semites, Muslims belong to they want to create Islamic Republic in this country. There was a film in 2010, someone made Britain's Islamic Republic. One Bora, very poor Bangladeshi Bora, Bangladeshi people, most Bangladeshi live there. And some people are talking about Islam and in a way that doesn't suit in their language is not proper, but they were just using their emotion. And a film was made, Britain's Islamic Republic. And politics was destroyed for some years. Turning the big number, Muslim number, into real quality, as probably Mamun Bhai mentioned. Sorry? Okay. So number into quality. We have 2 billion Muslims now. 2023, that means last year, we have become 2 billion Muslims. In Britain, 6.5% Muslims, 4 million. Jewish community, 250,000. Hindu community, 1/4 of us. Where is the number? Islam always spread, not because number, it was because the lack of number they spread. In Battle of Muta, only 3,000, and opponents were, some say 100,000, some say 50,000, some say even 200,000. So 3,000 people was not defeated. They didn't win, but they survived, and it was the master technique of Khalid bin Walid that happened. And in that battle, he got the title Saifullah, Allah's sword. So number is important for Islam, but quality is more important. Building resilient, inclusive, and prosperous communities everywhere with people's social and political skills. Now, just a ritual talk, ritual prayer, and theoretical discussion is not going to bring any change. We have to see who our opponents are. We have to see whether we are doing the best thing that we can. If we are average, then it's not going to work. One of my close friends in Malaysia, he mentioned that Muslims are known for Muslim mediocrity, MM. Whereas mediocrity is the enemy of excellence. If someone is happy with mediocrity, that means his or her life will be ended. Life means ambition. There's no ambition. Without ambition, positive ambition, there is no future. Okay, am I getting too bogged with discussion? Let me see. Sunni Muslim reality. This is a discussion I have been recently within ourselves, not in the public level. I don't have anything against any Shia group, because I work with Shia in the MCB. There are Shia groups, and also in the Muslim world, the ones who are fighting axis of resistance, it's coming from not from Sunni groups. Sunni groups, Muslim leaders, they are shouting, criticizing. Behind the scene, they are supplying everything to Israel, and that is recorded. Saudi Arabia, UAE, and some of them are paid by the establishment. Palestine Authority, paid by Israel. Israel means American money. Jordan paid by Israel. Egypt survives because of America's handouts. I'm mentioning because this is public. So problem is this Sunni world. I don't know, some theology is there that you have to listen to your ruler. Don't create any fitna. And this has gone to a level where oppression is happening, and whereas the other hadith, that the best jihad is to speak truth against oppression. They are not doing this. Coming from Saudi Arabia or wherever, this is killing us, more or less. Killing, not metaphorically killing us. So with generally inept, corrupt political class, some happily crawling to Western masters, sorry for my language, ineffective scholar activists and activist scholar. We need activist scholars and scholar activists. Scholars have to be intellectually, they will not be socially community activists, definitely. We lack this. In history, Muslim scholars were activists in their own way. They were active, means they were activists. They read books and they taught people. They wrote books and taught people. So Sunni world is overall, in my opinion, I may be wrong, forgive me, leaderless, clueless, some say semi-dead. There's another Arab ruler, I call the half dead Arab ruler. I'll not mention a small country. Its leader it looks like half dead. It's secular, nationalist, Islamic activists groups, but in their own ways are not helping the ummah. Seculars are not helping, nationalists are not helping. Islamic groups, they think that they are helping, but they're just in a small world. For historical reasons, common people should not be blamed that much, but from common people also, they are generally weak in general and political literacy. Politics is the Achilles heel of Muslims. That is very weak in politics, Muslims. They are fractured, impotent, and many of them don't have any courage. In spite, Islam's religious and cultural force cannot be denied in the world. Many Westerners are reverting to Islam. I mentioned this. Home, mosque, school, madrasa produced Muslim scholars, leaders in history. There was no Islamic movement organization at that time, but moms, dads, they produced the leaders. Sometimes father was Shaheed, mom produced with the help of uncles. And in most cases, fathers taught them basic Islam. For advanced Islam, they went to another scholar. So individual scholars at home, in the mosque, school or madrasa produced. Now, our universities, our Islamic organizations, we are unable to create that many people. Okay, very briefly now. Colonial brutality, decolonizing mind. This is the topic that has been discussed and books are written, and I think it fits in the Muslim case, African, Muslim, and also Indians are in advantageous position because they have sided with, especially Modi's regime sided with the Western regimes. So decolonization of mind is important because Muslims and human beings are not inferior to one another. Everybody has got a specialty. So colonial brutality and post-colonial onslaught wreaked havoc in not only Muslim lands, but also in Muslim minds with inferior and enslaved mentality in many. So we have to wake up and unchain from this mindset. It's a common thing I'm mentioning. Some people are doing wonderful things, but overall people are, in our case, uneducated, not thoughtful, and organizational leaders, they look up to, and they don't have independent thinkings. So that mindset must be changed. Every mind has to be decolonized, because at the end of the day, each of us will face Allah on our own. We cannot blame any mosque, organization, or this and that, or external enemies. And we have to educate ourselves, our kids, to emulate Sahaba radiallahu anhum. Sahaba ask questions and ask question, yeah, and Ya Rasulullah, is it your opinion or is it personal opinion or is it coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? If it was personal, Sahaba gave different opinions. Whereas he was a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam encouraged them. And second point is bring back our social and life skills and enterprise. All these skills need enterprise, creating creative mind, thinking mind to create a just world. At the end of the day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions Surah Tawbah, Kalimatullahi Hiyal Uliya. Allah's kalima has to be supreme. One or two more slides. Sense of urgency, sense and the vision. Muslims with seeds of iman and dignity in them, in us, should feel ashamed of our current state in most places. We should feel ashamed, obviously. With vision and a sense of urgency, we must try to be change makers. It's not just I'm doing some charity work, some community work, I'm belonging to some organization, and this is the Islam. No. Bringing change within ourselves and our people's life, that is essential. Sahaba changed it, of course, with Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's guidance, Allah's guidance, within a generation. Each of us, must try to be change makers personally and jointly where we live. Each of us is answerable to Allah. We must have drive and plan to change our state on a personal, family, community, national, and global level. I'm not saying everybody can do everything. Some people can do family level, national level, global level. But at the end of the day, one has to be rooted. That's the 4 points. Stay rooted, think big, aim high. Thinking big, people think big and aim high, but they are not rooted to the community, rooted to Islam. Useless. Some people rooted to Islam, they don't have any big thinking. There is no aiming high. Become avid reader of Islam and the world. Without reading, there is no knowledge. Reading, spending time with the scholars, and there are many ways of learning now. But book reading has to be a habit. Write, talk if able. Because if someone writes a 1,000-word article, one has to read 10,000 words for his or her knowledge. And when you write something, it benefits you, because at the end of the day, you have to think, formalize, formulate, argue, how should I put this sentence and paragraph? That's the brain work. At the end of the day, it's the brain work. Writing is the brain work. Reading could be one way, and become a force for good wherever we live. Okay? We cannot change the world, but each of us can raise intellectual capital and join others to work for a better society. Some can learn better English. That's English I'm mentioning for especially British Muslim. Many British Muslim, Bangladeshi or Pakistani and others, they don't speak in English. They cannot communicate properly with their own children. Because children, when they grow up in this country, they always speak with their peers and friends and others or siblings English. The parents are out. And I say this. We support them, we do everything for them. Why can't we learn English to communicate with our own children? English is not that difficult, but many people simply, they're here for 5, 10, 20 years. And their children are getting lost in many places. English and raise energy and skills to pursue mainstream media and social media jihad. Our media jihad is virtually nil from Muslim side. 6.5% Muslims, mainstream Muslim media person is 0.4. And this 0.4 is from the secular and nationalist background, not from Islamic background. 6.5 and 0.4, what's the ratio? This is the Muslim situation in Britain, when many people think that in Britain Muslims are doing so good. I'm not saying we're not doing bad, but we should do better, or we should try to do best. Improve our political literacy. Politics in this country is nasty in the world now. So direct party politics may not be possible at all. I know this. But we need to understand political knowledge, how people maneuver them. Muslims are never cheated twice for the same mistakes, and learn the art of lobbying and PR. Through this art of lobbying and PR, the Zionist group has taken over virtually the West. And whereas we don't even know what is happening. We should join the dots. Everybody wants to do everything. We should not do this. Everybody should be skilled in certain areas. So jack of all trades, master of none. We have to be master of one, try to master of one, but we have to be jack of all trades. We should know everything more or less as basic knowledge, but we should try to gain mastery, authority, expertise in our own areas. It's vital we prioritize our acts to build a strong Muslim community. So Muslim civic society, strong Muslim civic society is very important. I think this is the last one, hopefully. Leadership. Leadership in Islam is probably repetition, is an amana. But Muslim leaders are the masters and oppressors of their own country. It's about serving people and serving Islam and people. Servant leaders, shepherd leaders, I mentioned. So there are categories of leadership, organizational and institutional. That is one type of leadership. Many Muslim Islamic groups, they are organizational leaders or institutional leaders. That's fine, alhamdulillah, in their own way. But if all of them, all Muslim activists become just organizational leaders internally, it's not going to help. We have to be the leader of the community. And we cannot seek leadership. It's by nature, it will automatically given to the best person. Then one cannot refuse that. Then social or civic leadership. Social leadership, civic leadership. In Britain or in a Muslim minority situation, we have to work with, it's a 6.5, it's a big number, but it's a very small number compared to 94 or 93.5%. So we have to work with all these people. In the civic society, there are many people. In the civil society, there's so many justice-seeking people. We work with them, some of them. But because Muslims are not in the game, they don't find Muslims in the anti-climate movement, disaster movement, inequality movement. Muslims are not there, especially practicing Muslims are not there. Then what you need is a thought or intellectual leadership. I have been speaking all along, thought leadership or intellectual leadership. And obviously, nothing will be useful in this world, maybe useful in this world, Allah knows best, but nothing will be useful until we have our inbuilt ruhaniyat with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, spiritual relationship. I'm talking about spiritual leadership or capital, and people don't seek that. People automatically, we know in the Islamic history who were our spiritual leaders. They never said that they are leaders, but we know them. So that's what we have to keep in mind. And pursuit of excellence, ihsan is commanded by Allah. Inna Allah katab al ihsan ala kulli shay. That's a beautiful hadith. Ihsan is linked with one's piety and perfection, which is linked with one's willpower, plan, and action. Excellence doesn't come on its own. I envy and I salute those Jewish historians who, in spite of them being called sellouts, they have unearthed what Zionist regime started with, ethnic cleansing. And they are still coming and saying the way they did the research of the archives, and historically they have to be right, and mention that. And some of the things they know more, but they haven't put in the history book because they know that that will not survive in the analysis of history. So I salute them because they are real academic. May Allah make the Muslims before their death. Ihsan is beauty, balance, harmony, discipline, good character, softness, gentleness, willpower. This is ihsan. Hasana, ihsan comes from the word Hasan. And Muslims must pursue this ihsan, not mediocrity. And the hadith I mentioned, this is the last, I remember now. This is just a slide, I'm not discussing this. There are certain professions or careers that have multiplier effects. teaching, education, this influences people. Teaching helps oneself. I was a teacher, and British education system, I didn't know anything. By being a teacher, I more or less know British education system and how I was raised in Bangladesh. Academia, economy is important for human survival. Business and trade, I mentioned Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi. Journalism, media, social media. We cannot go and work as a journalist in mainstream media now because they are virtually taken propaganda line, government line. But social media is there. I follow Twitter, instant news, and I follow those who I trust. And authentic news, nothing comes without any source. But in order to participate in this social media, you have to learn English, you have to learn English culture, you have to, if you want to contribute, then you have to be very careful that you are not accused as anti-Semites or this and that. That is a different world. Lobbying, policy making, I mentioned, and politics is also important. And deep and high-tech research and development. So Jazakumullah khair, subhanakallahumma bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. I have to give me 1 minute. I have to bring my charger. I'm in a different room. Otherwise, it will simply collapse. Just a second.
Okay, now it's time for everyone to join the discussion because there is a lot to digest, and it's kind of 1450 years of rise, fall, and growth. And we can see that the Shia world is more united. They follow a similar line. They are cooperating, coordinating, consulting each other and supporting each other. But Sunni world is betrayed by Sunni leaders, particularly country leaders. So as Brother mentioned, I would like everyone to join in, whoever wishes, join in and share thoughts that that the presentation has sort of inspired. So please feel free to join in. Anyone who wants to join, just unmute and speak.
Yes, Ustaz Mamun, Nadeem here.
Yes, brother.
Jazakumullah khair to Brother Muhammad Bari. It was a very, very extensive, very comprehensive account of our rise and fall and attempt to rise again and obstacles. So what I could understand is that being on survival mode, being on mediocre mode is not the way forward. That's something very, very striking, that was inspiring, that as Muslim, if we are satisfied that we are surviving, and that's good enough for us, that will be the recipe for failure, a recipe to stay in this state. And this was also quite eye-opening when you compared with how Shia Muslims are basically coordinating, and how Sunni Muslim leadership is lacking in certain areas. So there's a very clear checklist as shared by Brother Muhammad Bari, and then as first of all we have to reflect whether we are activist or not, and if we are, whatever profession we belong to, we are teachers or business personnel or whoever. So we have to make sure that we are activists, we are whatever capacity and whatever limitations and whatever opportunities we have, are we utilizing to the optimal. So yeah, so that was quite an inspiring and touching talk. Jazakumullah khair. So maybe other brothers and sisters could share their feeling, their reflection, their feedback.
Yes, please feel free. Who wants to go for next? Dr. Muhammad bin Abu Bakr, would you like to share your thoughts? Not just comment, but you can also share your thoughts in terms of how do we get out of this mess? And there are a number of pointers that came from the presentation, but you may have some additional ideas or practices that you may want to share. Dr. Muhammad bin Abu Bakr, are you able to talk? Okay, Sister Fatima Rahman, would you like to share your thoughts? Okay. So let's see. Muhammad Abdul Halim, brother, please share your thoughts. I will ask others also. I can, there is a mic off, a mute off from Wong. Is it brother or sister? I do not know. Would you like to share your thoughts? The name is Wong. Okay. There's nobody. We have to think and we have to express our thoughts, and it will have a multiplier effect that will help others to think about it, build on it, and this is how we can actually grow. I would say some things, since there is no contribution coming from anyone. I would say look at the latest example is Pakistan, where the popular leader is in jail, and army decided who wins and who loses. And because the Pakistan army has become Pakistan's enemy, they broke Pakistan into two in 71, and now they are messing with the remaining Pakistan by because Imran Khan was removed because America didn't like him, because he was too independent. And this is another factor that perhaps we should add, that not only internal problems, but Brother Bari actually referred to it, is that there are external control mechanisms whereby not only our minds are controlled, but our leaders are controlled. And the levers of power, leaders of power in the countries, the lands have become free, but the people are become enslaved by the brown Englishmen, or shall we say colonial mindset people. They left their own people to control the people on their behalf. And you will see the Western powers like dictators, because dictators, one person can control the country for them. If it is democracy, they have a problem. So they don't support democracy in Muslim countries. Only their interest. There is a plaque, I'm told by someone, a friend of mine, a non-Muslim friend of mine. He said that in the British Foreign Office, there is a plaque which is a quote from Churchill, says, Britain has no permanent friend. Britain has no permanent enemy. Britain only has permanent interest. So you can see Pakistan army would move whatever CIA would say. The regime change, as American scholars themselves say, regime change is an American fun game. And if you think about it, America is controlled by Israel, and America controls Europe and the world, and Europe has no guts to speak differently from American policy. So in effect, Israel is controlling the world. Zionists are controlling the world because they have. So the Jewish 10, if you think about it, the 10 commandments of Musa alayhi salam is killing is prohibited. And what they're doing, are they following Jewish law, Talmud law? No. So this is what we have to understand. Zionism and Judaism, Jewish religious people, I have known while I was working in London Council, I have known a number of Jewish projects that I supported as an officer. And they have been my friends because they are religious Jews, Orthodox Jews. You can see why they're in London and not going to Israel, because they don't like what's going on there. So that's why, please, anyone who wants to contribute, please do it. We have only a short time left. So
I lost connection because I disconnected the Wi-Fi. by trying putting my socket, another socket. Anyway, it's okay now.
Okay, so you're back anyway. So let's
Yeah,
see. Let's see. There is a Cambodian is IDB scholar who is now a senior professional. Brother P is Muslim. Would you like to make any comment? This has been actually an eye opener. So, Brother P is Muslim.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullah, brother. Now I don't have any comment, brother. Yeah. Inshallah. Yes, thank
Okay.
you. Yeah.
Thank you, brother. Sister Fatima Rahman, would you like to make a contribution? Or is it a brother? I can see name and picture as a sister, but I heard a brother's voice. Go ahead, whoever it is. Feel free to share. Share your thought. Oh, you can't unmute. Okay. Okay, then we have lost the opportunity to learn from you. Sister LB Ahmed, would you like to make a contribution? Or Sister Fatima, or is there a brother behind the name of sister? I can see you have unmuted. Go ahead. But by the way, I have shared the file in the chat. So okay, go ahead, please. Okay, there is a problem there. Anybody else? Sister Albi Ahmed, Muhammad Abdul Halim, would you like to say something? Today is very quiet. Normally, normally, quite a few people.
Yeah.
Khalid Saifullah Khan from Bangladesh. Go ahead and share your thoughts. You see, when we share, this is a stimulating presentation, and we have our own thoughts about what's happening around the world. And to the Muslims, okay, you also have you are a computer expert, and computer should not misbehave with you. They may misbehave with me, a mediocre computer user. Okay, so if there is nobody.
There's a question from Brother Khalid Saifullah. What initiative is required to unite Muslims on one platform?
Okay.
Can you see this?
Yes, I can see. You
Okay.
reply, Brother Bari, Dr. Bari.
As I mentioned, that uniting, it could be a difficult thing. And when people say that one is in uniting, then some resistance automatically come. It's a sharing experience, coordinating works, cooperating, and then the issue of uniting will come. I have seen with my own experience in some years ago, during my time in the MCB, in the non-Muslim countries, Eid Jamats happened on different days because Muslims don't agree on one date. And we try to bring scholars to see whether they can come with a single date, because school holiday and these others, everything depends on them. Alhamdulillah, there were good discussions, but then we started realizing that rather than bringing them for a uniting cause, differences were growing. So we just said that, okay, that's okay. It may not be possible, but I think in every city, people should agree to have Eid on one day. If not every city, London is a big city, then say South London. I live in South London. So at least people in South London should agree to have it. So we agreed on that, and rather than getting more disunity through uniting, we gave that out. I'm not saying that uniting is not totally impossible. It may be possible, but if you find it difficult, then take another route. Start working, then try to join the dots. He is doing this thing, you do another thing, then try to see whether there can be any connection and there can be cooperation. And gradually, that's why MCB was created in 1997 after 3.5 years of consultation. Alhamdulillah,
MCB is Muslim Council of Britain.
Muslim Council of Britain, and we succeeded at that time. So we did not go to any city to take over the city. We said that, okay, we come here, and in any meeting in any city, we ask the most senior respectable person to chair the meeting, so that they think that we are not there to teach them, because people don't like being taught. So there are many ways, but this is, I think, one of the ways. Another question I can see: how to unite all Sunni leaders? Same question. I think leaders, difficult to bring leaders together unless they have got political interest. There may be political interest or national interest, especially unfortunately, what happens, every political leader or national leader should think about his or her own country. And even then, they realize that the thing that they are doing is harming their country, even that they cannot come together. But if we find nationalist, even nationalist or secular leaders who have got certain qualities of working together and helping the serving people is the main thing. So we need to educate our people to become politicians, to serve people, not to become master. Other thing is bring them some common theme, that with this thing, say if a country succeeds in economic, political, intellectual way, that will bring reputation, respect, and dignity in the world of international community. So that could be one area that Muslims can work on. But political leaders are difficult. But what about academic leaders? What about scholars? They should find their way and probably show some example to their political leaders. One day they may follow.
I think also political leaders are very difficult to reconcile. Religious leaders are also very difficult to reconcile.
Yeah.
They give easily public fatwa against. So fundamental issue perhaps is what Brother Bari has mentioned, is that try small. Like, South London having a one-day Eid is rather than the whole country, not the whole city. So like that, try small, and a mutual respect is fundamental to coming together. I think of, unity and diversity in my hand. They're all different and they come together and become power. So we have to respect that there is diversity, there is different thoughts, but fundamentals are Allah and Rasul. If we agree on Allah and Rasul, Quran and Sunnah, then we have everything that we need. Then individual practice promote goodness rather than criticize, okay, he doesn't do Sunnah prayer, only Fard prayer. But he's doing Fard prayer, looking at the glass half full. So that this way, if we can look at the positives of others, and this is at social level, at friends and relatives level, if we can actually have something to latch onto and connect with each other and build on that. If we don't connect with each other, if we don't have good relationship, good mutual respect, and good respect for different thinking, maybe we can change. Maybe I will change, or the other person will change, or we will stay where we are, but at least have relationship where we respect each other. We may not agree, but we respect each other. That's fundamental to unity. And the unity is, or breaking unity usually comes from two levels. As Brother Bari said, political leaders, and I added religious leaders. These two groups are the dividing factors, fundamental dividing factors. I've seen many ulama directly attack by name other ulama. Why don't you go and talk to him? They don't do it. So I don't expect that these types of ulamas can bring that kind of unity, even basic unity of mutual respect on different views. So for me, the acid test is, can I work with someone I don't agree with? For common good, as Brother Bari mentioned, common good is central.
Yeah.
Social welfare is central. Pleasing Allah is the core. Faith has to be pleasing Allah. And if you read Surah Baqarah, verse 177, you will see that first mentioned faith contents, and then mention serving the people, then mention salah and other things. So people become important in Quran. And yet we think Allah, we just pray and that's good enough, and we just ignore people and or think bad of people. We are going to be accountable for our thoughts, and we are actually damaging our own self, never mind others. So it is important for all of us here to take some initiative wherever we are. We can specialize in various areas that Brother Bari mentioned. We become experts in those areas. So this is where we can find our own niche, our own talent, our own contribution, our own creation of new history. This is how we can, I mean, everyone is a leader. كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. What are we doing? ورفعنا فوقهم فوق بعض درجات ليبلوكم فيما آتاكم. I have raised some people above others, so I want to see, test them out, what they play, what role they play with it. We have many roles, we have many potential influential roles that we can play, but that's leadership. Leadership is influence. Leadership is giving vision. Leadership is inspiring people, stimulating, but that requires thought, thinking. That's why Allah, you know, Allah, when Allah says something, Allah gives reasons and Allah gives examples. ما غرك بربك الكريم, Allah says. Why are you in confusion about your Lord? الذي خلقك فسواك فعدلك في أي صورة ما شاء ركبك. Allah gives 4 reasons. So we have to think. I've seen one quote where it says, thinking is difficult, so people judge. So that's why, let me...
Last question I can see is from Sister
Yes.
Fatima. Can we not
Yes.
organize country-wide summits of Sunni leaders?
Forget leaders. What can you do? Brother Bari, just say what you think.
Problem is, as Brother Mamun says, if leaders think that they are rulers, then there's a problem, because leader means one should lead, and rulers mean one should rule. Muslim rulers at this moment, not everyone, there are obviously there are exceptions. They have become rulers, and rulers mean they have to rule by hook or crook, by killing people, by imprisoning people without any justice. Justice is absent.
Justice,
So for generations, education, proper education has been missing. As I mentioned, we in subcontinent use British education system. Macaulay said that the whole purpose of education was to create some clerks so that they can serve the British interest. So that education system is still there. Okay, last one I can see how to unite and stop ostracization amongst volunteers and members in Jamaat or Islamic organization when or after raising issues or addressing grievances and having proper channels for complaints and confidentiality. This is also very important. But my whole talk was about giving a bigger pictures. In any organization, in any mosque, even in family, there will be differences of opinion. And if someone is a good father or mother, and obviously teaching is there, then if he or she goes to any organization or runs any mosque, that probably will reflect on their behavior and character. At the end of the day, these are micro organizational issues which are important. But at the end of the day, if we keep the bigger picture, one is the helicopter picture, that what is the ummah about now, how we are faring in terms with the others. On the other hand, there is the grasshopper picture, that means in the grassroots level. So these questions basically are important, especially the last one, organizational, family, etc. If someone has a wider vision, see things from the helicopter as well as from the grasshopper, then one will not be bogged with small, tiny organizational things. We'll see the big picture. On the other hand, if someone has big picture, but rooted, as I mentioned, rooted to Islam or rooted to the community, then there will be balance. Problem is some Muslims are not rooted to Islam or rooted to community. Others are so rooted, they don't think beyond that. So it's a balance. Islam is the middle way. At the end of the day, we have been asked to will be asked in the day of judgment. That needs constant reminder. And my last suggestion would be, we should all read the Quran from beginning to end, the meaning at least, in addition with an authentic seerah of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's life. Because Quran and seerah they are complementary. They will complement or strengthen each other, understanding each other. If these two things are done, 6 months, 1 year, if some or 3 months, someone can do these two things. Quran from Fatiha to Nas, with a good understanding. I'm not talking about the tafsir, just meaning of the Quran, what is written in that as a translation, nice translation, and also Sirah of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And there are quite a few, mashallah, authentic Sirah in the world now.
Okay, I just want to conclude with 3 points. Number 1 is decolonizing mind is a fundamental issue that the Bari mentioned, that are we thinking free, or are we thinking in the Western mindset as has been conditioned? So this is number 1. Number 2, I would say, are we adding value? I'm not using my talent to contribute to leave a legacy for dunya and akhirah both. So, and then the decolonized mind, I would say, thinking globally, leading locally. So this covers the Bari's last comment about helicopter view and grasshopper view. So this is thinking globally. So we are in the contextual framework where the political, economic, social, technological, environmental, legal framework, and then whatever is possible within my capacity, cooperating with each other, coordinating with each other, consulting each other, and then allow people to have space to have a different opinion. This way we can actually have stronger unity in diversity. May Allah help us, and may Allah help us to build ourselves and our surroundings so that it adds value. It creates a process whereby decolonization of mind, even if we are in the colonial master's country, we can actually play that role. And inshallah, we can think globally and lead locally on common good. Okay, so we conclude. Subhanaka Allahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. I hand over to Brother Nadeem.
Jazakumullah khair, Ustad Mamoon and Ustad Brother Muhammad Bari. May Allah reward you abundantly. It was indeed very comprehensive and inspiring talk. So we will continue to, listen to the recording, watch the recording again, and inshallah we will share on the YouTube platform. Jazakumullah khair. Until next time, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.